welcome back to Nerd Talk. Today we're going to be talking about the future of the MCU, in particular Spider-Man 3, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and WandaVision. So I've been thinking, obviously over the past couple of weeks, anyone who knows anything about the Marvel Universe knows that we've got a lot of announcements about characters who are apparently returning in Spider-Man 3, such as we now know that Jamie Foxx is returning as Electro, and there's just been rampant rumours about characters from the Amazing Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man, returning to play their characters once more. A lot of people are reckoning, and I understand where this is coming from, but in the events of WandaVision, we're going to see Wanda break reality, which makes sense. We've seen, or it's implied in the trailer, and she's done it in the comics. And we also know that Doctor Strange will be in the third Spider-Man movie, and his movie is going to be about fixing the multiverse, or in a multiverse of madness, which makes sense with the idea that the multiverse is destroyed. But I'm half wondering if we're not going to see a multiversal story in Spider-Man 3, because I feel it's just too much.
Are my defectors on site?
Exactly as you predicted.
Can I skip this?
I've been monitoring the...
But I feel it's too much to do. Spider-Man getting his identity back, Spider-Man fighting possibly Electro, Kraven, and possibly others, and him across the multiverse. Because it's those problems we've seen which caused the Amazing Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, and several other super movies to not do great, is filling up way too many plots. So what could they be doing instead, and what could all these villains returning mean? One idea I had is it could just be a doppelganger kind of thing, where, like how we have the same actor portraying J. Jonah Jameson in both the original Spider-Man and in the Tom Holland Spider-Man universe, we could just have it happens to be another doppelganger where we've just got the same actor portraying the same character in two vastly different things. Because Electro dies, or seems to die, at the end of the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Although there are theories that maybe it will be revealed he's just sent to his new universe. Which is fine, I guess. You can say that. I just don't feel it. I feel it. You bring back Tobey Maguire, you bring back Andrew Garfield in the Doctor Strange one, where you go into different multi-universes instead of just Spider-Man.
Nice.
But we also know Doctor Strange is returning. How could that work? Surely he'd just be there to fix the multiverse. I don't think so. I think what we could see is a storyline straight out of the comics.
The goal is to knock out Ames.
For those who don't know, Spider-Man does lose his identity in the comics. It happens in the comics during the Civil War arc, where he switches teams to Team Iron Man, and to prove his loyalty to Team Iron Man, he reveals his identity, leading to Aunt May getting attacked. Maybe we could be seeing something like that, where we have his identity being revealed, and then Jamie Foxx returns to Electro just as another villain start probably upset or something, who just appears just for a smaller role to attack Aunt May. So then what we have is, in the comics, Spider-Man to get his identity back goes and makes a deal with the Little Devil. The deal with the devil he makes is the world forgets his identity, but he has to give up his relationship with MJ, and it's all his entire relationship is just wiped from their memories. So maybe we just and where he has to give up his MJ in order to protect the ones he loves, because his identity's out there. Because the identity thing in this universe, like in the comics, people keep their identities a lot more than in the movies, where no one wears a mask, everyone's identity is known. SHIELD outed all the Avengers years ago, kind of thing. So the only reason I can see it happening is maybe Aunt May or Ned or other people Peter cares about are put in the firing line. Doctor Strange allow him to make the deal with the devil. We see. So it's the story of Kraven hunting Spider-Man across the or across whatever until Spider-Man gets to Doctor Strange, or anything like this could work. Or it's the Skrull scenario where we see Skrull Nick Fury helping him. But I feel we're very unlikely, or not very unlikely, but I feel it's more likely we don't see Nick Fury and do. because every Spider-Man movie has a supporting cast from an established character. First one Iron Man, second one Nick Fury. This one I reckon would be Doctor Strange. But to me that kind of makes sense. Instead of jam-packing it with many different storylines, we do the storylines after him, Aunt May's in danger or has been attacked, or Ned has, or whoever, and it ends with him having to make a deal to have his identity removed from the public eye, but doing that he sacrifices something. I feel this movie in particular needs to be less about Tony, because the previous two have been so much about Tony. The bad guys are all bad guys because of Tony. Even when he's dead, he's still throughout it in his faces throughout it. I feel what we don't need and what no one wants is to be Craven's evil and after Spider-Man because Tony hired him and didn't pay him or something like that. Called his hunting garbage, like the other two have basically just been. But I feel also with this movie it would be interesting to see possibly the beginning of the Sinister Six have any of these villains, Craven teaming up with villains, because we're gonna get a Sinister Six in this universe. We've no Vultures out there, Scorpions out there, as well as a version of Shocker, and possibly Mysterio is still out there, and with Venom now maybe being set in this universe, as well as the other thing, and Morpheus possibly being set in this universe, and villains from other movies possibly returning. I think it works. And I said, as for bringing villains in, I think it's a time you could bring in Electro, maybe not Green Goblin, or some of the bigger villains, but some of the smaller ones. Vulture, we got Vulture. Rhino, maybe. You can bring in these characters, just have them established. Don't give them the origin, because we didn't need an origin for Spider-Man. Like in the Spider-Man PS4 game, which is one of the better adaptations of Spider-Man, you'd have the villains out there. And I think part of the story you could have part of the beginning of it be Spider-Man in a sport trying to get over the death of convinced we didn't kill Mysterio. Maybe he loses and have to give it. Okay, but yeah, maybe that he gets Matt Murdock or She-Hulk, as I'd like to see Matt Murdock in this universe. We have.
I'm headed inside to destroy the power junction.
We have him, like the main part of it is him going through court trying to show he didn't kill Mysterio, and he's represented by Matt Murdock, aka the Daredevil. And we have Craven after him and Superman's attacking his family and those he cares about. And then we possibly, near the end of it, we get the beginning of the idea of the multiverse, and maybe even you have it, he doesn't have his whole, you have it so near the end, he's recruited by Doctor Strange who needs help because the multiverse is shattered. And then he's a supporting character in that movie maybe, and that's when you have his identity be fixed. And I feel it's something they need to address, because a big problem I feel of the Marvel movies is they bring up possible storylines and just forget about them. Like at the end of the first Spider-Man, they set up the idea that Aunt May knows he's Spider-Man, maybe she won't want him to be or whatever, and then it's just ignored. It's one example of it. We've got many others where they set up stuff like the Mandarin or possible future villains, and they just never do anything with it, or when they do, it's very little. And just big storylines. So I feel we need to have more stories on screen, because be a big leader, or it's been set up to be a big leader in the whatever new Avengers group is formed, assuming Sony don't put him out the universe again, which they could also choose to do. Another thing I've seen I like the idea of is, even though we've got an MJ, it's not Mary Jane Watson, MJ from the comics. And a pretty nice way to make it that is we keep what we've got, but you have it so because of Spider-Man's identity being revealed and her becoming a target, she goes into witness protection and has a name changed legally to Mary Jane Watson. So I obviously they made choose not to do it, but I think that would be a nice way to keep the same character we've got but make it Mary Jane. And then you can even have it so she dye her hair red to make it so she looks different or whatever. But it's the idea I've seen going around, I like that idea. But yeah, I feel with the whole bringing back 3 Spider-Man, it's just too much. You can't have him dealing with his identity being outed, fighting all these villains, setting up the Sinister Six, and exploring the multiverse with 3 different Spider-Man. Because Into the Spider-Verse wouldn't have been nearly as good if they had Miles Morales having to deal with, oh, he needs to pick up his grades or whatever. It's too much. And this is what brings these movies down. I want it to be that we see Tobey Maguire return in the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, being directed by the same director who did the first 3 Spider-Man movies. I think that's a better choice. But who knows, maybe they'll do it, maybe they'll do it good. But I feel just Spider-Man movies need to get away from him just looking up to Iron Man and fighting people who hate Iron Man. It needs to be his story, which it is not at this point in time. But yeah, I do see it very likely that it's going to be Wanda's actions in WandaVision that cause a weird multiversal rip, setting up to Doctor Strange. And this could be the beginning of whatever big event happens, whatever the next big bad guy is. If it be Eternity, who is in the parallel dimension created by Reed Richards or what. Because I think the X-Men you bring in, the Fox X-Men, because half of those things are good, half those characters are good. You bring it in, you change their timeline a bit. Because there are characters in that universe who should come back, such as X-23, who we see first in Logan, never gets the follow-up movie we are told we're going to get for her. Stuff like that, it would be nice to see. If you've got any ideas of how the future Marvel movies could go and what characters you'd like to see and how you'd like to see Spider-Man 3 go, I'd love to hear it. I plan on talking about upcoming Marvel properties such as Falcon and Winter Soldier and who could be the next Cap and the next Avengers theme. So stick around for that. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.